What the Europeans would do, I think that the Europeans are ready to accept the conciliation between the Fatah and Hamas, and they will not take a decision against it because they realize and understand the changes taking place within Hamas, and they understand that the existence of the PA is actually in the interest of the European Union. I was talking recently with one very senior official in the EU and brought to him the very common argument that Europe was supposed to give money to the PA until 1999, until there will be a Palestinian state, and now there is no Palestinian state, and there is no end to the donor money given to the PA, and the EU became a subsidizer to the occupation because you are paying for the services which the PA do on behalf of the occupation. So you are subsidizing the occupation, and till when? And the answer was very simple. He said, we know that. But at the same time, as long as there is something called PA, we can convince ourselves that there is still hope for a political solution to the conflict. So it's a sort of I don't want to say deceiving, but you do it because it will release you from something which could be more horrible. Phil mentioned the campaign or what would happen or may happen in September. It's true that the Palestinian leadership will go to the Security Council, and we expect the United States maybe to use the veto against it and then go to the General Assembly. Nobody can predict what will happen in this regard. But let's assume that we will succeed in the Security Council and we will become a member of the United Nations. What next? Are you going to ask the United Nations and the Security Council to help us to evacuate the occupying army from our territories as a state member of the United Nations? Would this happen or not? We have, during the last 2 years, we have continued the process of building our state institutions. We are ready for independence. We are ready to become a country, a nation. Help us to get out from under the umbrella of the occupation and be ourselves. Would this happen or not? I think it's a risk to try to predict what will happen. But I think that the Palestinian Authority should, from now, start thinking what is after September. And it's good to start talking about you will go to the UN, you will ask for the membership, you will become a member of the United Nations, but what is next? And here I must say that for us as Palestinians, we should start preparing a plan, an action plan, what to be done after September. And we should not talk only about financial aid to the Palestinian Authority. I think as long as our case is only asking for money, we are losing the case. I believe that we should be ready to sacrifice on the level of money and ask for political support, because we need to see our people free, and we need to achieve our independence. It's not only how to handle services to the Palestinian people under the Israeli occupation. What would happen if we did not succeed in the United Nations? If we fail in the United Nations and do not become member of international organization? I think this will be the real challenge in front of the leadership of Fatah and Hamas, and maybe this was one of the reasons why they both understood that they should give up on their division and become united. And at this point, I may also understand Mash'al's statement that we are ready to share in taking the decision regarding the political hirak, political activity, and also organizing the resistance. I think that Israel should pay the cost for the occupation. Without paying the cost for the occupation, it's a very comfortable situation for Israel. And here I want to say a few words which are not diplomatic, and I will say them from my emotions maybe. And allow me for my frankness, and by this I will finish my short presentation. I believe that the United States, in its policy for the last 15 or even more than 20 years, in its policy, it was helping to maintain the situation and not to change the situation. Well, we hear all the time from the US administration, don't do this, don't do that, because you will hurt the peace process. But actually, there's no peace process. Nothing is being achieved in this regard. At the same time, what's happening on the ground, it's an ongoing process of changing the facts on the ground. When we speak about the two-state solution, I think it's a very beautiful concept. It's very nice. But I must say and admit that it is totally isolated from the reality on the ground. All of us, we are in favor of two-state solution. Phil mentioned my activities. I tell you honestly, from the 70s, I was advocating the two-state solution. At the time when the PLO were talking about a secular democratic state in Palestine. I was attacked by Palestinian media, by Al-Mithaq newspaper, and after the killing of Issam Sartawi, I was accused of being Sartawi of the occupied territories. But now, as one who was from the very beginning believing in the two-state solution, I tell you that I don't see a real chance for the two-state solution. With 500,000 settlers in the West Bank, with 250,000 settlers in Jerusalem, with an ongoing process of expanding the Jewish settlements, expanding and building the infrastructure, integrating the occupied territories in the infrastructure of Israel, I don't see a space where the Palestinian state could be materialized. And there, I ask why there are people still talking about the peace process and about a political solution to the conflict. And I don't think at the same time that it is a hopeless case. I still do believe that the two-state solution could be achieved if we make this occupation costly for Israel.